So we've done all the border on the autumn twist scarf. We've done this bit. We're going to start working on the pattern, which is a cable pattern that twists all the way up. So this is actually a lot easier than what you might think. I'll show you what I've done. So if you download the Drops Design information, it's got a chart on there. Now, you've probably never read charts before, so I'm going to go over it roughly with you and try and make it as simple as possible. Let me get it so you can kind of see it. So on the chart, you've got a lot of information going on there. It does give you a key to what stitch is what up here. I'm going to take you through the two first rows, which is the right side and then the wrong side. And then we'll take you through the cables as well. But everything, so once you've done the first two rows, the right side and the wrong side, that is what's repeated all the way through, apart from where these cables are. So the easy way to do these cables is you've got a single cable where you push your stitches to the back on row 7. And you've got two lots of cables on row 17, and that's where you pull the cables to the front. It'll make sense when I do it. And you will always remember that the odd numbers are at the front and any even numbers are at the back. Now the whole chart is 20. You've just got 20 rows there to complete the whole pattern. That's all you've got to do, is those 20 rows over and over and over again until you get to the length that you want. Some point later on, when I finish the scarf, I will come back and show you how to finish it. But you could just go ahead and finish it yourself by reading the information that's actually on the website. We're going to learn a couple of things on here. First of all, obviously, we're going to learn the cables, how to do the cable stitches. We're also going to learn this stitch, which is a knit one below, and I really like this stitch. So this kind of comes in on a English rib or a fisherman's rib. The stitch one below is quite a prominent stitch, and it gives the scarf a really good frame to look at. So we'll get started. Things that we need: the work that we've already done, obviously, on the needles that we've got. Again, I'm working on 10mm needles. I've actually bought these ones new because I really do like the Knit Pro ones. You'll need cable needles. There's two different types generally. There's these ones, but these are great if you're working on something quite small, but I don't think they work too well on this. Personally, I think your stitches are a little bit more, they're a little bit more easy to control if you use this type of cable needle, because you can slip the stitches on and this can dangle there at the front or the back while you work on your work you're working on. Then you can turn it while you take the stitches off. It's quite easy. I'll show you how to use that. And obviously you need something to make sure you're keeping track of how many rows you've done. So I use a little row counter. You can use any method you want. You can use a stitch counter on your phone, iPad, watch, a piece of paper, a pen, whatever works for you. So we're going to start with the pattern. So the pattern is, as I said, first 3 and last 3 stitches are always knit stitch. So that's perfectly simple. We've done that one so many times. So we do the 3 knits, 1, 2, and 3. Then we've got to do a make one. This is where it's going to get more complicated. So with normal knit stitch, you go in and, can you see? Let me move so you can see. So you'd go in as normal there. But do you see this little bar underneath? Now I'm going to push my needle there so you can see it. That's the stitch below. Let me get it close enough so you can see. So there's your normal knit stitch. That little tiny bar below, just there. Can I pick it out? God, let me see. I'm trying to show you so you get it right every time. This here is the stitch below. That's what we're going to knit into. So instead of knitting straight into the loop, we literally stitch in the one below. So we'll do a knit stitch on there, and then when we pull that through, it will look a bit loose. It's fine, it will pull through and it will pull loose, and you'll think, oh my god, I've dropped a stitch. No, you haven't. That's perfectly normal because the stitch is actually quite big. Then we're going to do 3 purl. So we go 1, Ooh. 2 and 3. Then again we do knit one below. Remember, like I said, there's the stitch below. We need to go into that one, so you've caught that little bar there above it, and knit. And then we do 3 more purl. 1, 2. Oh, my wool's all caught up behind me. So we've done 1, we do 2 and 3. 1 more knit below, 1 below, which is where I've done an increase, look. So that's going to be quite tricky, but it doesn't matter if it looks like it's a bit weird underneath. We'll just do a normal, so if you come across this, I think just do a normal knit stitch for this row. But when you're doing your rows afterwards, now the stitches are all set, you would knit 1 below the next time you come over to the front of your work. So that's your last knit 1 below. You've got 3 all together, and we need 3 more purl stitches. 2 and 3. And then we do, let me just double check. Oh. Yeah, then we've got 20, if I remember correctly, knit, 20 knit. So you've got 3 knit stitches, knit 1 below, 3 purl, knit 1 below, 3 purl, knit 1 below, 3 purl, 20 knit. So I'm going to knit those up really quick, and then we'll come back and do those last little bits on the border again. I've just done my 20 knit stitches across the middle, and again we're back to where we were before on the border piece. There's kind of like 2 borders, so you've got your knit stitches on the last 3, and then you've got these other ones where you've got the knit 1 below. So we're going to do 3 more purls. That's 1, 2 and 3, and then again we do a knit 1 below. So we go right below in that stitch underneath, just there. We go in there. Now remember, if you've just made a stitch there, if that is a new stitch you've made, just do a normal knit stitch for this row, but afterwards we'll do the knit 1 below. So we'll do 3 more stitches in purl, 1, 2 and 3, and then we'll do knit 1 below again in there. Find your stitch, there we go, and then 3 more purl, 1, 2 and 3. Now if you've got your count right, you should have 4 stitches left on your needle, and there you go, I've got 4 left. So I need to do 1 more knit below, 1 below, and then we do 3 normal knit stitches. So 1, 2 and 3. So when we go back across that, so that's row 1, make sure you add that to your counter actually, but when we go back across the back, we will do basically the opposite. So if you did a knit on the front, you're doing a purl on the back, including the knit 1 below, which is a purl stitch now. So obviously your 3 on the ends are always knit stitch, so you've got a garter stitch on the very borders, 1, 2 and 3 in a knit. Then we do 1 purl, and then we do 3 knit, 1, 2 and 3. Then again 1 purl and 3 knit, 1, 2 and 3, and another purl and 3 knit stitches, 1, 2 and 3. And then we should be on 20 purl stitches all across the middle. So we'll do those and then we'll come back and do the other side. So I've done all the centre in the purl, so there was 20 purl all across the centre. Now we're going to do the border pieces again. So we do 3 knit stitches, 1, 2 and 3, and then we do 1 purl. And again, 3 knit, 1, 2 and 3, and then 1 purl. 3 knit, 1, 2, 3, and 1 more purl, and then you're on your last 3 stitches. As I keep saying, last 3 and first 3 always knit stitches. 1, 2 and 3. So those are your first 2 rows, row 1 and row 2. So your odd numbers are always going to face you. Your even numbers are always going to be the wrong side of the work. So odd numbers are the right side, even numbers are the wrong side. So we're going to repeat those 2 rows until we get to row 7. So you'll do 1 through to 6, and then on row 7, which will be the right side, I'll pick up with you again and then I'll show you how we do the cables. So we're on the centre now of row 7. So we're going to knit 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then we're going to slip 5 stitches onto our cable needle. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now we're going to leave that at the back of the work just to sit there while we work on the front again, and we work 5 more knit stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now we push the stitches along round the cable needle and work them off of the cable needle. So I know I went on to the long end, so I'm coming off the short end. So whichever side you put them on, take them off the opposite side. So try and separate the stitches as best you can, because this yarn does tend to cling to itself a little bit. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now it will feel tight, it will feel really odd. You'll think it's wrong because it feels so tight. That isn't the case. It is absolutely right, because it is creating the twist. I don't know whether you can see that, but as I knit some more up, you will see how the twist looks. There you go, it does show up. So it literally twists stitches at the back to the front and the front to the back. And then that is how you do cable. So that's your row 7 in the middle. So you do 5 stitches, 5 on the cable to the back, and then 5 from the front, and then you work the 5 on the cable at the back. And then you do 5 more knit stitches. Then you're on to your, I suppose, inner border, should we call it? I think that's the best way to call it, isn't it? Inner border, which is, again, on the front of your work is 3 purl and make 1. So that's 1, 2 and 3. And then we make, we knit 1 below, not make 1. Knit 1 below. And again, 3 purl, 1, 2 and 3. And then knit 1 below. at that, I've gone straight through that. So let's do that one again. Knit one below. There we go. And again, purl, 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then we knit one below. And then of course you're on the edge. Let's make sure it goes in the actual hole, not through the yarn. There we go. And it's 3 knit stitches. 1, 2, and 3. So my preference for doing this scarf is actually to use Drop Swish, but that's now a discontinued yarn. So I'm using Drop Snow, which is more like, best way to describe it, is more like a roving than a wool. It's a single strand, so it's quite easy to break if you're not careful with it. But you should be okay as a beginner because this knits up very, very quickly, so it shouldn't snap. Try not to be too over anxious with yanking it around, but it should be okay. The only thing you'll have to watch is it is very easy. Let me show you on a piece. It's very easy to go in the middle. Do you see? Need to try and avoid doing that. So it's not the ideal yarn to work with for a beginner, but it's not very forgiving. If you can get something equally as thick that's not quite like roving, maybe it's more like a twisted yarn, a more traditional yarn, it probably would be easier for you to work with. However, the finish may not be as good. This probably will knit up nicer than some of the twisted yarns, but we'll see how we go with it and see what it washes up like at the end as well. It may wash up really, really well. It might wash terribly. We don't know until we get there. So I'll give it a go, and then if it's really bad, then you know not to buy it. The best thing to do is go with it if you've already got it and see how you get on, but take your time with it. Try not to rush it. It's not a wool you can rush with, which is, I suppose, in one way is a good thing for a beginner, but I don't want you to be discouraged by it. So we've done the first row of cable, which is row 7. You've now got to knit right the way up to row 17. So we do from row 8 to row 16 and including row 16. Like we did before, row 1 and 2, they're just repeated all the way up. So we repeat those up to row 16. And row 17, I will come back to you and we will do the next piece, which is where we do 2 lots of cable, but we put the cable needles at the front, so you'll get the idea of it. I've knitted up 16 rows of the pattern so far. You can see where there's one twist there. We're now on row 17. So like I said before, we're doing, this is a 20 row repeat. And when we're repeating it, we're doing row 7 is single cable, row 17 is 2 lots of cable work. Row 7, you hold your cables at the back. Row 17, you hold your cables at the front. So we're on row 17. We'll do this one together. So we've got 3 knit stitches. You should be getting pretty good at this now. And then you've got your knit one below. Then we go into 3 purl. Knit one below. When you reach the end of a ball of wool, I would suggest you just tie a knot for your next ball of wool and try and work the knot into the back of your knitting. It's just a lot easier than trying to faff around, trying to do it any other way when you're working with a very thick yarn. If you're working with some of the thinner yarns, you can do it a different way and you can sort almost knit the new ball in, whereas with this, it's quite thick, so it wouldn't really work. So I've done all the outer border and then all the inner border. So you've got your purl 3, knit one below, purl 3, knit one below, purl 3. Now we're on the centerpiece where those 20 stitches are on most of the rows. and we're going to do 2 lots of cable work. So the same as before, we're slipping 5 stitches onto the cable needle. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And we hang that at the front of the work this time. And while that's hanging there, we knit 5 stitches. So we knit 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And then we come back to the cable needle, try and turn it round very slightly. Can be quite tricky to do this piece. And then you knit your 5 off your cable needle. So 1, 2, 3, find the stitch, 4, and last one, which is always very tight, 5. And then we do exactly the same again, picking up 5 stitches off of your needle, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and letting that hang at the front of the work. And again we knit 5 stitches normally, so 1. If you're worried about the cable needle, just give it a little tug and pull it back round. 2, 3, 4 and 5. And then get your cable needle again and pull that up. There we go. And knit the 5 from the cable needle. Again, it will be tricky, but you should be able to do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And that is your cable pattern. So you've done row 7, which was single cable needle goes to the back, and then row 17 where you do 2 lots of cable work and they both go to the front, and each time you put 5 stitches on the cable needle. So remember, the pattern is based over 20 rows. So once we finish this row, which is row 17, you have 18, 19 and 20. You have 3 more rows to do, and then you have completed the whole pattern once. All you do from there on is repeat that pattern over and over again until you get to the desired length of your scarf. I would suggest stopping it around 167 centimetres, maybe a little bit shorter of that or a little bit longer, depending on how you like to wear your scarf. And it also depends on how much wool you've got. So if you've got loads of wool left, go on a little bit more. If you haven't got so much left, maybe cut it a bit short. Maybe stop it a little bit sooner. But there you go. That is your first lot of the pattern. And as you progress, this will twist in and out all the way up the scarf. So you continue doing those 20 rows. So obviously you've got your 3 rows to do starting on the back, which go 18, 19, 20, and then we start again from 1. And row 7 and row 17 are cable. So I will come back another day, hopefully, and show you how to finish it off. Or this could become one of my very long-standing unfinished projects, along with a load of other stuff. If you craft a lot, you'll know. So yeah, there you go. That's basically the Autumn Twist scarf by Drops. It's a really good one, so try it out.